I used to love movies. The flickering lights, the cozy seats, the popcorn smell. It was like stepping into another world. But that was before I stepped into the haunted movie house. Let me tell you my bone-chilling tale. It all started one cold and rainy evening. My friends and I decided to watch an old classic movie at the abandoned cinema that stood at the edge of town. People had talked about strange occurrences there, but we were skeptics, brushing it off as mere ghost stories to scare kids. As we entered the decaying cinema, the musty smell filled our noses. The worn-out red carpets greeted us as we walked down the narrow aisle. The old projector flickered to life, and the movie began. As I settled into my seat, I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. As the movie progressed, the atmosphere inside the cinema grew eerie. The shadows seemed to dance on the walls, and strange noises echoed through the empty seats. I tried to ignore it, blaming my imagination for running wild. My friends, too, seemed on edge, but we all pretended everything was fine. Suddenly, the movie reel snapped and the screen went dark. An unsettling silence enveloped us. My heart pounded, and a shiver ran down my spine. We decided to leave, thinking it was just another technical glitch, but the exit door slammed shut, trapping us inside. Panic set in as we tried to force open the door, but it wouldn't budge. Desperate, we searched for another way out, but all the doors were locked. It was as if the cinema didn't want us to leave. Fear consumed us as we realized we were trapped in a haunted movie house. A whisper echoed through the cinema, sending chills down our spines. "Leave," it said. But the voice was not threatening. It sounded desperate and sorrowful. It was as if a lost soul was pleading for release. Suddenly, the screen flickered to life again, but this time it wasn't the movie. It was a projection of a young girl, her pale face contorted with sadness. Her eyes bore into our souls, and we felt an overwhelming sense of sadness and despair. The ghostly apparition told us her tragic tale. She was a young actress who lived during the golden age of cinema. One night, after a successful movie premiere, she was brutally murdered by a jealous rival actress. Her body was hidden in the cinema, and her spirit had been trapped there ever since. Tears streamed down our faces as we listened to her heartbreaking story. We felt her pain and anguish, and we knew we had to help her find peace. She begged us to find her remains and give her a proper burial, so her soul could finally rest. Driven by a mix of fear and compassion, we embarked on a search through the dark, decrepit cinema. We followed the ghostly clues she left, leading us to a hidden room beneath the stage. There, in a long-forgotten corner, we found her skeletal remains. As we laid her to rest, a sense of relief washed over us, thinking we had finally set her free. But as we turned to leave, a bone-chilling wind swept through the room, and the ghostly figure of the young girl appeared before us once again. "Thank you for freeing me," she said, her voice quivering. "But there is one more thing you must do." Before we could react, she reached out and touched each one of us. In an instant, we were consumed by a sudden coldness, and our bodies froze in place. We were trapped, just like she had been, forever bound to the haunted movie house. As the years passed, people spoke of the eerie cinema, where the ghost of the young actress and her ill-fated audience still roamed. Locals warned newcomers not to enter the haunted movie house. For those who dared to watch a movie, there would become part of the tragic tale themselves. It was a moonless night when I first set foot inside the old movie house. The place had stood abandoned for years, tucked away in a forgotten corner of town. My curiosity got the better of me when I heard rumors of its haunted past. People spoke of mysterious figures roaming its decaying halls, and eerie whispers that echoed in the silence of the night. As I pushed the creaky doors open, a musty scent filled my nostrils. The darkness inside seemed impenetrable, but my flashlight sliced through the gloom, revealing a once grand, now dilapidated cinema. The rows of seats were tattered, the screen torn, and the walls adorned with peeling wallpaper. This place, once filled with laughter and excitement, now exuded an air of desolation. I could sense the weight of history hanging heavily in the air. What stories did these walls hold, I wondered. I decided to spend the night here, hoping to uncover the truth behind the haunting tales that shrouded the movie house. As the hours passed, my eyes grew heavy, and I began to doze off in one of the decrepit seats. Suddenly, a soft murmur reached my ears. I jolted awake, the sound echoing eerily around me. In the dim light, I caught a glimpse of a figure at the back of the theater, standing as still as a statue. My heart pounded loudly and my breath became shallow. "Hello?" I called out, my voice barely above a whisper. The figure didn't move, but its presence felt palpable, sending shivers down my spine. With trepidation, I approached the back of the cinema. As I drew nearer, I realized it was a woman dressed in an antiquated gown, her features obscured by shadows. She seemed to be watching the tattered movie screen with an unsettling intensity. "Do you need help?" I asked, trying to muster up the courage to approach her. She turned her head slightly in my direction, but her face remained hidden. In the faint light, I noticed an old film reel on the projector, as if it was waiting to be played. Curiosity overwhelmed my fear, and I reached out to spin the reel. As the film flickered to life on the screen, a shiver ran down my spine. The movie was like nothing I'd ever seen before. It showed scenes of tragedy and despair, with each frame depicting unspeakable horrors. My heart pounded, and a knot tightened in my stomach. The woman seemed transfixed by the images, and as I turned my attention back to her, she finally spoke, her voice as cold as ice. "They trapped me here," she said, her words resonating in the silence. "Each night, reliving my darkest memories, my deepest regrets." "Who are you?" I stammered, unable to tear my eyes away from the chilling scenes unfolding before me. "I am the projectionist," she replied, her voice echoing with sorrow. "Long ago, I loved a man who frequented this theater. He was enamored with the moving pictures, and I was enchanted by his passion. But as time passed, he grew distant, consumed by his love for the cinema. In a fit of despair, I took my life, and now my spirit is bound to this cursed place." Tears welled in my eyes as I felt the weight of her tragic tale. The haunting visions on the screen intensified, showing her demise over and over again. "Is there no escape for you?" I asked, my voice trembling. "There is one way," she said, her gaze fixated on the screen. "You must take my place as the projectionist. Pass on my cursed role to someone else, and only then will I be free." I hesitated, but the allure of setting her spirit free was too strong. I agreed to take on the responsibility, not fully comprehending the implications of my decision. With a chilling smile, she whispered an incantation, and the room seemed to twist and distort around me. The screen flickered, and the theater was enveloped in darkness. When the lights came back on, I was standing alone, and the woman was gone. A sense of foreboding settled over me, but I pushed it aside, believing I had freed her spirit from its torment. Days turned into weeks, and I became the new projectionist, presenting films to empty seats, all the while sensing an eerie presence lingering in the theater. Each night, the visions on the screen grew darker, showing scenes of my deepest fears and regrets. I tried to escape, to leave the movie house behind, but it was no use. The theater had consumed me, binding my soul to its cursed walls. I was doomed to relive my darkest moments for eternity, just like the woman before me. Now, as I stand here, trapped in this eternal nightmare, I warn anyone who dares to step foot in the haunted movie house. The curse will not be broken easily, and you too might find yourself forever lost in its malevolent grip. So, beware the flickering shadows, the beckoning screen, for within those cursed walls, your soul may find no escape, and your fate will be sealed in darkness and despair forever. I always loved going to the movies, especially during the weekends when my friends and I would gather at the old movie house downtown. It was a charming cinema, a place filled with nostalgia and history. The faded red velvet seats, the antique projector, and the golden chandeliers added to the old-world charm that emanated from every corner. But there was something about the place that set it apart from any other cinema I had ever been to, an eerie presence that sent shivers down my spine. Rumors whispered among the locals told tales of a ghost that haunted the movie house. They said the ghost was once a devoted moviegoer who met a tragic end while watching a film on the big screen. Some claimed to have seen flickering lights, heard strange noises, and even felt an unseen hand brushing against their skin. I dismissed these stories as mere superstitions, but deep down, I couldn't help but wonder if there was any truth to them. One rainy Saturday night, curiosity got the better of me. I convinced my friends to join me for a late-night movie at the haunted cinema. As we settled into our seats, a sense of excitement and fear swirled within me. The film started, and the ambiance of the old theater made it even more captivating. Halfway through the movie, I noticed a strange, shadowy figure in the corner of my eye. I turned my head, but there was nothing there. It must be my imagination, I thought to myself, trying to shake off the unease creeping in. But then, the figure appeared again, this time closer, as if moving toward me. I gulped, glancing around at my friends, but they were engrossed in the film. I turned back to the screen, trying to ignore the unsettling presence. But the figure was relentless, inching closer with each passing minute. I could see it more clearly now, a silhouette draped in darkness. Suddenly, the movie froze on the screen, and the theater plunged into complete darkness. Panic rose within me, and I tried to stand up, but an invisible force held me in place. My heart pounded loudly in my ears as the darkness enveloped everything. Then a whisper emerged from the shadows, chilling my bones. "Leave this place," the voice echoed, icy and hollow. "You do not belong here." Fear paralyzed me, and I could only manage a feeble response. "Who are you? What do you want?" The voice laughed, a haunting sound that echoed through the theater. "I am the forgotten soul, lost in the flickering lights and the echoing laughter. This cinema is my eternal prison, and you have trespassed into my domain." Tears welled up in my eyes as I begged, "Please, let me go. I didn't mean to intrude." The shadowy figure moved closer, and I could feel its cold presence just inches away from me. "No one leaves this place without a price," it hissed. As the darkness began to dissipate, I found myself alone in the empty cinema. My friends had vanished without a trace. Panic surged through me, and I stumbled toward the exit, but the doors wouldn't budge. I was trapped. Days turned into weeks, and I became a ghost in the movie house. I watched the world outside carry on without me, the laughter and joy of life taunting me from a distance. The ghostly figure remained my only companion, whispering chilling tales and tormenting me with endless fear. One fateful night, as the cinema hosted another group of unsuspecting moviegoers, a glimmer of hope flickered within me. Maybe, just maybe, I could find a way to escape this haunting place through them. With all my strength, I tried to communicate with the living souls. I whispered warnings in their ears and tried to make them leave, but they couldn't hear me, and the figure lurking in the shadows grew angrier. As the movie reached its climax, the figure unleashed its wrath upon the unsuspecting audience. Panic erupted, screams filled the theater, but they were merely echoes of terror. The living and the dead collided in a horrifying spectacle of chaos and despair. In the end, the figure turned to me with empty eyes, devoid of any humanity. "You tried to defy me, but you are trapped here forever," it taunted. With a final sinister laugh, the ghostly figure disappeared into the shadows, leaving me alone amidst the wreckage of terror. The darkness swallowed everything, leaving behind a sinister silence. And so, I became a part of the haunted cinema, forever condemned to wander its halls, forever cursed to bear witness to the horror that unfolded on its screens. My soul trapped, my existence shattered, in this never-ending nightmare of the shadowed screen.